You're not going to gaslight us and tell us to shut up or call us anti-Semitic for pointing out the fact that Charlie was having a change of heart about the tactics that Israel was using in America, and that he felt when he had left that meeting that he had effectively been blackmailed.
If you aren't watching Candace Owens right now, then I believe you are missing out on her biggest breakthrough yet. Candace Owens, who is good friends with Charlie Kirk, is doing an investigative report basically on the last few months, weeks of Charlie Kirk's life. She is calling out every single person she believes was putting a lot of pressure on Charlie at the time. Starting with Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman, who is a hedge funder, was funding Charlie money. But Candace is also alleging that just a few weeks before Charlie passed, he was doing lunch in the Hamptons with Bill Ackman and Seth Dillon, and that this lunch was to pressure Charlie into visiting Israel. This conversation got heated, threats were made, and Charlie was offered a large sum of money just before his death. During this podcast, Candace was also...
Can we bring in a clip of Charlie from a month ago speaking about the kind of pressure that he was under? Because I think that will also help to further contextualize this. Take a listen.
I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like some of the mess, and you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after a turning point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the fifth time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no. I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white. And you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
No, it's not defensible to be dumb, and he was under an increasing amount of pressure, not just people telling him, oh, well, I'm upset with who you're inviting, but flat out telling him that he was not allowed to invite certain people to his events. They were threatening to pull out money. Charlie was getting a lot of really nasty text messages, and many of them pertaining to Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, but Tucker Carlson was really the focus when it came to America Fest. How could Charlie allow these debates about Israel to take place? How could he allow Dave Smith, who, by the way, is Jewish, how could how could Charlie allow this other position to meet the stage? Because obviously when people start to hear the debates, what Dave Smith is saying sounds so rational, but it was up to Charlie to not allow those things to happen. And that amount of pressure towards the end, as you see that conversation he had with Meghan was just a month before he lost his life, really, I would say, reached a pinnacle of sorts on the matter of what Tucker Carlson actually said on that stage. Tucker Carlson, while he was on that stage at Turning Point, brought up Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a billionaire. Obviously, he is also an extremely litigious billionaire. And Bill Ackman was on Charlie about comments that Tucker Carlson had made on that stage. Tucker Carlson specifically asked the question, where does Bill Ackman's money come from? Who is this guy? Actually, who is this guy that has this much influence? And like I said, Bill Ackman was not happy about this. And so I would like to contextualize Bibi. Again, these are things Bibi brought up publicly, which he didn't have to. He didn't have to bring up the letter. He didn't have to bring up the phone call, but he chose to do this less than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was shot. Personally, Bibi, I would have appreciated if you guys used all of your spyware. You've been spying on us for years. to maybe track down the killer, but I guess this is where you thought it was best to do a little propaganda for Israel would be better than us helping us track down the killer. But anyway, so Bibi Netanyahu in that phone call, what took place was a couple of weeks ago before Charlie lost his life. Charlie was in the Hamptons and he had more than one event, but he had essentially what was staged, an intervention was staged by Bill Ackman because Charlie's rational thoughts about Israel were a no-no. This is not the route that you should be going on. And Charlie was surrounded by his friends, his quote unquote friends. Bill Ackman was very upset and threats were made. That is what I am told, and I will tell you that I am very happy for Bill Ackman to dispute this narrative. In fact, he was asked to dispute this narrative. Max Blumenthal went out to him today, and Bill Ackman came back and said, I have receipts I can show you, and he did not provide the receipts. This is not how it went down. I know it went down this way. I'm waiting for one of them to go on record and to say that it didn't go down this way. It was at this time that Bibi Netanyahu was called and Charlie was invited to Israel. This was an under duress situation, I would say, because I've been in these situations before. When I started asking very sensible questions about Israel, as someone who had dedicated her political life to supporting Israel, many times alongside Charlie KIRK, I was met with the very same pressure. And just like Charlie was being invited to Israel, I was invited somewhere else. And when this arrived to me, it felt like a threat. You know, I got to tell you that. It felt like a threat, like not like, hey, come here and we can educate you because you're my friend. More like, this is your last chance. That's how it felt to me. I can't speak to how it felt to Charlie. And I know that Charlie was offered a ton of money in this moment. A ton of money. Bibi would fund it, you know, spend tons of money. And Turning Point, I guess, if it needed to go to a higher level, would have gone to an even higher level than it already was at. And I know for a fact that Charlie denied that funding. That Charlie denied, and what Bibi didn't include there, he declined to go to Israel for, I would describe this as like, you know, re-education camp. You know, we've seen it. You made an uh-oh, but we can help you. You know, we just need you to come out to Auschwitz and take a picture. Yeah. We just need you to come to the Holocaust Museum and take a photo. We just need you to go to Israel and we can make this better. Charlie said no to Bibi. Okay. Bill Ackman, if you would like to dispute that, I would love to hear what you say happened, because our sources and what we have, it's solid. Okay. There were conversations that took place, messages that were sent at that time, and they are solid. So I decided another person that was there, and I am not surprised this person was there. If you've been listening to my show, Seth Dillon, I was going to go out to Seth Dillon, and I decided to message him last night about this Hamptons meeting. And Seth Dillon, who is normally very quick with a response, has not yet been able to respond. I'll show you this text message chain. And I want to be clear, I am not someone who normally publicizes text messages. But my friend was shot in the neck. And I'm just not really in the state right now to be polite when it comes to the answers that I am demanding, okay? This is me out to Seth Dillon last night. I sent him Bill Ackman's tweet because, you know, he tweeted, I feel incredibly privileged to have spent a day and shared a meal with Charlie KIRK this summer. He was a giant of a man. I said, any comment on this one, Seth? He didn't answer last night. This morning I said, need a comment ASAP, please. He didn't answer. Then I followed that up and I said, trying again here, you were present when Ackman lost his mind on Charlie and when Bibi invited him to Israel and Charlie refused. Text messages immediately following this meeting are circulating. I find Ackman's statement, as though the meeting was somehow cordial, to be incredibly disturbing. Are you at all disturbed by that tweet? Do you feel, as I do, that this tweet significantly betrays the defined purpose and mood of his, and I presume your, final meeting with Charlie Kirk? ? He was unable to speak to me, but he did place some frantic calls to Turning Point USA. Yeah. You see, I went out to Seth, but I also went out to two other people who were at this meeting, and nobody is willing to go on record. They're all messaging each other, trying to figure out a coordinated response to say that, no, this was all quite cordial, but no one wants to go on record and describe it as cordial because they know someone's leaking, because someone's got a guilty conscience about what happened at the Hamptons. So I will again put it out there, Seth, Bill Ackman, and to the other individuals who I have not yet named, but who are going to be named later this week, who were at the Hamptons when Charlie was put under pressure, when Bibi Netanyahu called him and invited him to Israel, again, in a move that when it happened to me, and it wasn't Bibi Netanyahu, felt to me like a laced threat. I am inviting you guys, I will give you my platform, actually, to come clear matters up, to tell us what really happened. Because, you know, I think Charlie was definitely on the brink of changing some of his perspectives. And I can tell you factually, Charlie was praying the rosary. Charlie was going to mass. One of my last conversations with Charlie was me joking with him saying, just make the last step, okay? You are, I said specifically, you're too smart to be a Protestant. Just take the last step, Charlie. Take a listen.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing it's not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this. But they go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin. We're spreading disease. And people believed it, and every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust.
Well, he's mentioned the Holocaust. Guess we can't prod the narrative any further, guys. Holocaust, so everybody's just stopped talking about anything. Hey, he's the victim. It's absurd. It's just absurd. The Holocaust happened. You heard him. We're sick of this shit. We really are. And there will be no narrative that I will not prod when it comes to figuring out why people are lying about the state that Charlie was in when it came to the topic of Israel. Again, you can examine Charlie in his own words. He was starting to talk about topics that you're not really allowed to talk about when you take money and big checks are being written. And that pressure was increasing every single day. In fact, he was telling the truth even about Jeffrey Epstein. Take a listen. Just a second as we...
That Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who is obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz-kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It seems to conflict with BB's narrative a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit. Okay, and for those of you that are listening to this on audio, you are going to see someone who appears to be limping. Okay, so maybe he changed his outfit at some point and now he's limping. And the idea that we're seeing floated is that he's limping because he's holding the gun in his pants. Okay, that's kind of what's been floated. Okay, that has not particularly come from the feds. I don't believe so, but he's limping now and he's got on a different outfit. Okay. 11:52 a.m. And we were actually going to check this, by the way, but I think that we had the FBI say that was when he arrived on campus. Maybe that's not accurate. So let me just skip off of that because, Skylar, we should actually look to research that. But at 12:23 p.m. is when Charlie Kirk is shot. Okay. And 12:23 p.m. is when in that same minute is when we have footage that shows us that as the crowd ducks, and it's blurry, the shooter runs across the rooftop. I'm going to tell you why that's significant. So 12:23, Charlie Kirk is shot, and we are going to have an angle of that and the image of the black person in black rather, that is running across the rooftop. Take a look at this. They're down, clearly. And right away, look at that, okay? And we have another, the footage shows us, there's another actually clip that I was looking for, Skylar, there, that it actually shows him running across the rooftop. You guys may have seen it. The reason why that footage is problematic, as you start to see them ducking and then you see the shooter immediately start moving across the rooftop, is that their narrative is that he disassembled the gun and then started running. So that's a bit confusing to us of how he was able to do that so quickly. An unbelievable amount of hunters, guns, people that reached out to me and said, that just didn't happen. They have exactly as Michael said, that did not happen. There is no way that happened. That cannot be accurate. Then, and this is obviously the craziest part of everything, we have Decoy Boy, right? So it happens and suddenly this guy, George Zinn, gets arrested. He's making noise. He's signaling that he's somehow shot the guy. And at 12:52, it gets announced that the suspect is in custody. So nobody needs to look around anymore because this suspect is in custody. But actually, I guess George Zinn just does that. He just does that, I guess, like just wants people to think he's done something but he hasn't actually done anything. That, again, to me feels like he's a decoy. Like more people are involved in this. And I will say that. We don't know. But we know that something's wrong with this. Then at 12:29 p.m., we have TMZ showing us that there's a person running through the backyard. They are saying this appears to be the suspect running. Okay, now we're going to show you that clip. It is very grainy. So they're alleging that that's him. We couldn't confirm that, and the feds have not confirmed that. But it does show you that someone's running across the back. Again, that's at 12:29 p.m. I don't know. We don't know. I'll give you some other facts that you should probably know just in general that that has been thus far confirmed. The weapon, they say, was found in the woods and it was wrapped by a dark towel. Okay, now, when they gave us a photo of that weapon, it was fully assembled. So this is kind of what Michael Savage is saying. He's saying, okay, so then they reassembled it, or maybe the feds did. Maybe they're going to clarify that they reassembled it for a photograph, but we are told that it was found wrapped in a dark towel. Then we have been told that a screwdriver was found on the roof. So they're sticking to this implication that he perhaps undid this gun while he was on the rooftop, and he, wanted to make sure he unscrewed it with the screwdriver, left the screwdriver behind, but took the gun, but then left the gun in the woods.